The scanner beeped 3 times, and Detta felt her antennae twitch with curiosity. She leaned closer to the display screen, watching the numbers scroll past faster than usual. Something floated near the asteroid field, silent and dark against the backdrop of distant stars. Rylon adjusted his feathers and turned his head sideways, the way his species did when concentrating. "What have you found?" "Unknown vessel," Detta replied, her mandibles clicking softly. "No power signature, no response to our standard greeting codes." Brace growled from the tactical station, his scales shifting to a darker shade of green. "Could be a trap. Pirates use dead ships as bait." The far horizon had been mapping trade routes for 6 months without incident. Detta enjoyed the peaceful work, cataloging planets and charting safe passages through dangerous space. Her compound eyes could see more colors than most species, making her perfect for scientific analysis. But peaceful also meant boring, and this mystery ship sparked something in her researcher's heart. "Distance?" Rylon asked. 12,000 kilometers, drifting with no propulsion." "Visual." Detta switched the main screen to optical sensors. The ship appeared piece by piece as the computer assembled the image. It looked wrong somehow. Too angular, too dense. The hull had scorch marks and what looked like impact craters, but the overall structure seemed intact. "That is not a merchant vessel," Brace said quietly. Rylon's head feathers rose slightly, a sign of concern. "Size?" 400 meters long. Mass reading is... That cannot be right. Detta rechecked her instruments. The density suggests armor plating thicker than a station's outer hull. "Weapons?" "Multiple hardpoints. I count at least 20 emplacements, but they appear inactive." Rylon made the decision that would change everything. "Full spectrum scan. I want to know what we are dealing with." Detta initiated the deep scan protocol, the same procedure they used on derelict stations and abandoned outposts. Energy beams swept across the mysterious vessel, penetrating layers of hull and armor. Data flooded her screens. She stopped breathing for a moment, something her species did when shocked. "Captain," she whispered. "Speak." "The reactor core is still active. Temperature readings show fusion reactions at levels that should melt the containment vessel." Brace stood up from his station. "Impossible. No known alloy can withstand those temperatures." The scan went deeper. Detta's screens filled with warning symbols she had never seen before. The science computer began flagging systems as impossible, dangerous, beyond classification standards. Life support systems showed gravity levels that would crush most species into paste. The atmosphere inside measured pressures found only in deep ocean trenches. "What kind of species builds a ship like this?" Rylon asked. "I do not know," Detta admitted. "But the weapons systems, even in their offline state, show potential output that exceeds our measurement capabilities." A new alert flashed red across every console. The science computer had finished its analysis. The classification appeared in letters Detta had only read about in historical archives. Class Omega Threat. "That classification has not been used for 300 years, Brace said. His claws extended unconsciously, an instinctive response to danger. Rylon opened his beak to give the order to retreat. Before he could speak, the mysterious ship changed. Running lights flickered along its hull, red and white patterns that seemed aggressive somehow. Power readings spiked. Weapon systems that had appeared dead suddenly showed active targeting solutions. The far horizon's defensive alarms screamed. A transmission cut through their communications. The voice spoke perfect galactic standard, but with an accent Detta had never heard before. Female, calm, absolutely terrifying in its controlled tone. "Unidentified vessel, this is Terran Coalition Navy ship Defiant. Stand down your sensors immediately. You have 15 seconds to comply." Detta's claws froze over her console. Terran, she searched her database. No species by that name in any galactic records. "Respond," Rylon ordered, his voice steady despite the fear scent filling the bridge. Brace sent the shutdown command. Every scanning beam cut off instantly. The far horizon went passive, showing they meant no threat. "This is Survey Vessel Far Horizon," Rylon transmitted. "We meant no harm. We believed your ship to be a derelict." Silence stretched for 10 heartbeats, then 15. Detta counted them, her biological clock precise even when her mind raced with possibilities. "Far Horizon, maintain your current position. Any movement will be interpreted as hostile action." The Defiant rotated slowly, bringing weapon batteries to bear. Detta could see them now through the optical sensors. Massive barrels, scorched from use, pointed directly at her ship. She ran quick calculations. If those weapons fired, the Far Horizon would cease to exist in less than 3 seconds. "Confirmed," Rylon replied. "We are holding position." Another pause. Detta noticed her screen still showed residual data from the scan. The Defiant was damaged, severely damaged. Hull breaches sealed with emergency patches. Entire sections running on backup power. One of the main engines appeared completely offline. This wounded, crippled vessel could destroy them without effort. "Far Horizon, explain your presence in this sector." The voice remained calm, professional, but Detta heard something underneath. Exhaustion, pain. This crew had been through something terrible. "We are conducting survey operations for the Galactic Council, mapping new trade routes." "Galactic Council," the words came back puzzled. "We have no record of this organization. Transmit your credentials and stellar charts." Brace looked at Rylon with wide eyes. They had no record of the Galactic Council. How isolated was this species? Rylon authorized the data transfer. Standard diplomatic packages flowed across space to the Defiant. Detta watched her sensors, seeing the other ship's computers analyze the information at incredible speed. "Understood, Far Horizon. We appear to have encountered each other far from our respective territories." "May we ask what happened to your vessel?" Rylon ventured. A longer pause this time. When the voice returned, it carried a weight that made Detta's antennae droop. "Combat, we are returning to port for repairs." "What kind of enemy could damage a ship like yours?" Brace asked before Rylon could stop him. The answer came back simple and chilling. "The kind that does not stop." Detta could not stop staring at the data scrolling across her secondary screen. Even with the active scans terminated, passive sensors still picked up emissions from the Defiant. Everything about the human vessel violated conventional physics. Her scientific training screamed that such a ship should not exist. "They are requesting communication on a visual channel," Brace announced. His scales had faded to a nervous yellow-green. Rylon smoothed his feathers. "Accept it." The main screen shifted from the external view to show the interior of the Defiant's bridge. A human. Female sat in a command chair that looked designed for comfort during violent maneuvers. She wore a dark blue uniform with markings that meant nothing to Detta's database. Her face showed fatigue, but her eyes remained sharp and focused. "I am Commander Ann Reeves, captain of the Defiant. I apologize for the hostile reception." She did not sound very apologetic. "Your military-grade sensor sweep triggered our automated defense systems." Rylon bowed his head in the gesture his species used for respect. "I am Captain Rylon. This is Chief Science Officer Detta and Tactical Officer Brace. We truly did not know your ship was active. We run those scans on derelicts regularly." Anne's expression softened slightly. "Derelicts. I suppose we looked the part." She glanced at something off-screen. "Your data package mentions you represent something called the Galactic Council. We have been operating in this region for 6 years and never encountered your organization." "6 years?" Detta could not help interrupting. "Forgive me, Commander, but how is that possible? The Council has maintained this sector for centuries." "We are new to interstellar travel," Anne explained. "Humanity achieved faster-than-light capability 12 years ago. We have been expanding cautiously, mapping systems, establishing colonies." Brace leaned forward, "And fighting wars." Anne did not flinch. "Yes, we made first contact with a hostile species 73 months ago. They attacked one of our colony worlds without warning or communication. 2 million civilians died in the first wave. Detta felt her antennae droop. 2 million. The number seemed impossible. We have been at war ever since, Anne continued. Building ships, training crews, learning how to fight in space. She gestured around her damaged bridge. The Defiant engaged 3 enemy vessels 4 days ago. We won, but as you can see, victory has a price. Rylon activated his recording systems. The Council would need to hear this. What species attacked you? We call them the Swarm. Organic ships, hive intelligence, completely hostile to all other life forms. They consume biomass from the planets they conquer, using it to grow more ships and warriors. Are they expanding toward Council space? Brace asked, his military training overriding his fear. Unknown, we have been too busy defending our own territory to scout beyond our current lines. Anne paused, seeming to make a decision. You helped us in a way. Our navigation systems were damaged in the fight. We have been drifting for 2 days, trying to repair enough to reach the nearest human outpost. Your scan gave us a targeting reference. We know where we are now. Where is your outpost? Rylon asked. 3 days away at our current reduced speed. Detta did calculations quickly. We could escort you. Our sensors could help you navigate. Anne studied them for a long moment. Why would you do that? You just met us. We could be lying about everything. You could have destroyed us already, Rylon pointed out. You did not. That suggests peaceful intent despite your military capability. Besides, Detta added, unable to contain her curiosity, I have approximately 10,000 questions about your ship's engineering, if you would allow me to ask some during the journey. A smile crossed Anne's face, the first genuine emotion she had shown. You scanned us pretty thoroughly. I assume you noticed some unusual specifications. Your fusion reactors operate at temperatures that should vaporize any containment vessel, Detta said rapidly. Your hull armor has a density suggesting composite materials we cannot identify. Your weapon systems show potential output levels that break our classification systems. Your life support maintains pressure and gravity levels that would kill most known species. How do you survive inside your own ship? Anne's smile widened. You really are a scientist. Very well. If you escort us home, I will give you a tour of our engineering section. Fair trade. Detta looked at Rylon with pleading eyes. Her captain sighed, a very human gesture he had learned from studying other species. We accept, Rylon said. Transmit your course. We will match speed and heading. Appreciated, Captain. Stand by for navigation data. The transmission ended. Brace immediately turned to Rylon. Captain, we should report this to the Council immediately. Agreed, but we will do so after we safely deliver the Defiant to their outpost. I want complete information before we start a panic. A panic? Detta asked. Brace pulled up his tactical analysis. That ship is classified as a light cruiser in their navy. Light. It carries enough firepower to engage an entire battle group. If humanity has more ships like this, they represent a force unlike anything the Council has encountered. They also represent a potential ally, Rylon said quietly. They are fighting a hostile species that consumes worlds. If this swarm reaches Council space, we will need friends who know how to win against them. Detta returned to her console, watching the Defiant's engines flare to life. Even running on damaged systems, the power output made her instruments spike. The human ship began moving, slowly by its standards, probably very fast by any other measure. The far horizon matched course, falling into an escort position off the Defiant's port side. Detta opened a new research file in her database. She titled it Humanity, First Contact Analysis. Under the title, she wrote a single line that would prove prophetic. We have found either our greatest allies or our most dangerous rivals. Time will determine which. On the Defiant's bridge, Anne watched the alien survey ship take position beside them. Her executive officer, a tall man named Robert Hayes, stood at her shoulder. Do you trust them? He asked quietly. They are scientists and explorers, Anne replied. We used to be before the war. Maybe they can remind us what that was like. And if they report us to their council. Anne looked at the damage reports scrolling across her screens. Then we will deal with it. But Robert, I am tired of making enemies. If we can make friends instead, maybe we can end this war sooner. The two ships moved through space together, an unlikely pair bound by curiosity and necessity. Neither crew knew they had just set in motion events that would reshape the political structure of the entire galaxy. The shuttle ride terrified Detta more than she wanted to admit. Her safety harness pressed against her thorax as the small craft accelerated toward the Defiant. Beside her, Rylon sat motionless, his feathers flat against his body in controlled calm. Brace kept checking his environmental suit seals for the 5th time. The docking bay is pressurized to your atmospheric requirements, the human pilot assured them through the communications system. His voice sounded young, almost cheerful. We set up a special airlock. You will be perfectly safe. Safe felt like a relative term when approaching a warship that could vaporize planets. Detta watched through the viewport as the Defiant grew larger. The damage looked worse up close. Entire sections of hull showed blast scorching. Some armor plates had been peeled back like flour. Petals, emergency sealant foam covered multiple breaches. This ship had been through hell and survived. The shuttle slid into the docking bay smoothly. Through the viewport, Detta saw human crew members working on repairs. They moved with practiced efficiency, wearing minimal protective gear despite being in a combat vessel that had recently seen action. One human operated a welding torch on a damaged support beam. The metal glowed white-hot, but the worker stood barely 2 meters away. Their heat tolerance exceeds our projections, Brace muttered. The shuttle settled onto the deck with barely a vibration. A moment later, the airlock cycled open. Anne Reeves stood waiting, flanked by a tall human male and a shorter female with dark hair tied back in a practical style. "Welcome aboard," Anne said. "This is my executive officer, Robert Hayes, and our chief engineer, Louis Garcia." Louis stepped forward with an easy smile. "Science Officer Detta, Commander Reeves mentioned you had questions about our systems. I have been looking forward to this." Detta felt her nervousness fade slightly. Engineers spoke a universal language, regardless of species. They walked through corridors that seemed designed for function over comfort. Pipes and conduits ran exposed along the walls. Red lighting strips marked emergency routes. The gravity felt heavy, perhaps 20% higher than Detta preferred, but manageable in her suit. "You mentioned your reactors," Louis said as they descended a ladder toward engineering. "Let me show you something beautiful." The reactor chamber made Detta stop in her tracks. 3 massive cylinders dominated the space, each glowing with barely contained energy. Technicians worked around them, performing maintenance that should have required remote handling. The temperature readings on her suit display showed levels that would cook her species in seconds. "Fusion cores," Louis explained, pride evident in his voice. "We generate a small star's worth of energy in each one. The magnetic containment keeps the plasma from touching the physical housing, but even the radiation requires special shielding." "What material is the housing?" Detta asked, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. "Tungsten carbide composite infused with carbon nanotubes and a crystalline matrix we synthesized from lunar regolith. We bake it in orbital forges under pressures that would collapse most structures." Detta processed this. "You create materials in space." "We had to. Earth's gravity well makes it expensive to launch heavy equipment. We learned to manufacture in orbit, using resources from asteroids and moons." Louis patted one of the reactor housings affectionately. "These babies can run for 15 years without refueling. During combat, we push them to 140% nominal output." "That should cause a containment failure," Detta protested. "It does sometimes. That is why we have backup systems." Louis walked them to a wall covered in pipes and valves. "Redundancy defines human engineering. If something can break, we assume it will break, usually at the worst possible time. So we build 3 ways to do everything important." Brace examined the battle damage visible even in engineering. You lost crew in the last fight. Lewis's smile faded. 14 injured, 2 killed, Davis and Okonkwo, good people. He pointed to a scorched section of deck. Plasma fire broke through here. They sealed the breach manually, saved the reactor room, gave their lives doing it. I am sorry, Rylon said quietly. War is not kind, Lewis replied. We learned that fast. They continued the tour. Detta saw weapons magazines loaded with projectiles the size of her torso. She saw missile tubes that could launch warheads capable of cracking moons. She saw damage control stations equipped with tools for repairing hull breaches during active combat. Robert explained their tactical philosophy. Most species build ships assuming they can avoid damage. Humans build ships assuming they will get hit. The question becomes, can you keep fighting after the hit? Your entire design philosophy revolves around survival, Rylon observed. Earth taught us harsh lessons, Anne said. She had joined them in the weapons bay. Our planet is beautiful but dangerous. Storms that could destroy cities, earthquakes that reshape continents, predators that hunted our ancestors. We evolved learning one critical skill, endurance. Detta looked at the humans around her with new understanding. They did not build these incredible ships because they were naturally stronger or smarter than other species. They built them because their world had taught them that survival required planning for the worst. The swarm, Brace said suddenly. You mentioned they consume biomass. Have you recovered any intelligence about their origins? Anne and Robert exchanged glances. We have theories, Robert said carefully. Want to see our analysis? They moved to a briefing room. Robert activated a holographic display showing swarm vessels. Detta felt revulsion looking at them. Organic ships covered in what looked like teeth and claws. No symmetry, no aesthetic design, pure function evolved for killing and consuming. We believe they are an engineered species, Robert explained. Something created them as weapons, then lost control. They reproduce by consuming other life forms, breaking down the biological matter and restructuring it into more swarm units. How many ships do they have? Brace asked. Unknown. We have encountered at least 60 distinct vessels. Intelligence suggests they control 7 systems in our region. They expand by completely consuming every living thing on a planet, then moving to the next target. Detta felt her antennae droop. They will reach Council space eventually. Yes, Anne confirmed. Which is why we need to talk about alliances. Your council represents hundreds of species across thousands of systems. We are one species with 47 ships. Together, we might stop the swarm before they become unstoppable. Rylon stood silent for a long moment. I will need to report everything to the council. They will send diplomats, analysts, military strategists. This decision exceeds my authority. We understand, Anne said. But Captain Rylon, when you make your report, tell them one thing. What? Tell them we did not ask to be warriors. We wanted to explore, to learn, to meet other species peacefully. The swarm took that choice away. We fight because we must, but we would much rather make friends. Detta found herself liking these humans despite their terrifying capabilities. They built weapons that could shatter worlds, but they spoke of peace. They endured violence that would break most species, but they mourned their losses. They created ships designed for war, but they dreamed of exploration. I will tell them, Rylon promised. The council chamber felt colder than usual. Detta sat in the observer section, watching dozens of species debate the human question. Representatives from across known space filled the curved seating areas, their voices creating a chaos of opinions and fears. Ambassador Wren stood at the central podium, his translator converting his melodic language into galactic standard. We must approach this situation with wisdom, not panic. First contact with a militaristic species requires delicate handling. Delicate? General Court slammed 3 of his 4 arms on his desk. They have 47 warships capable of system-level destruction. Their lightest vessels match our heaviest dreadnoughts. This is not a diplomatic problem. This is an existential threat. Detta wanted to stand up and argue, but observers could not speak during formal sessions. She looked at Rylon, sitting in the witness section. He remained calm, his feathers perfectly arranged. General Court raises valid concerns, a serpentine representative hissed. We have maintained galactic peace through careful balance. No single species possesses overwhelming military advantage. Humanity disrupts this balance. They are fighting a war, someone called from the upper tiers. A war against something they call the Swarm. Perhaps their military buildup serves defensive purposes. Or perhaps the Swarm is fiction, Court countered. A story to justify their expansion. We have only human testimony about this threat. Rylon stood, requesting permission to speak. Ren granted it with a gesture. General Court, members of the Council, I have seen the battle damage on the Defiant. I have spoken with crew members who lost friends fighting the Swarm. Their grief was genuine. Their fear was real. Rylon's voice carried across the chamber. We can debate their intentions, but we cannot deny their capability. The question becomes, would we rather have humanity as allies or as strangers we never tried to understand? A holographic display activated, showing analyst Priya. The artificial intelligence's avatar appeared as a sphere of golden light. I have completed my assessment of human military doctrine based on available data. Permission to present findings. Granted, Ren said. Humanity's approach to warfare emphasizes endurance over overwhelming force. Their ships sustain damage that would destroy conventional vessels, then continue fighting. Their tactics accept casualties as inevitable, focusing instead on mission completion. In simulations, a single human warship defeats Council battle groups through superior damage resistance and aggressive maneuvering. Silence fell across the chamber. Detta saw fear in many faces. Some representatives whispered urgently to their aides. Priya continued, however, analysis of human. Cultural data suggests a species that values cooperation and mutual defense. Their history shows repeated examples of former enemies becoming allies. They form protective bonds easily, extending their defensive instincts beyond their own species. Recommendation: engagement over isolation. Easy for an AI to recommend, Court grumbled. You do not have biological imperatives to protect. General, I protect this Council's data infrastructure. I understand defense. Priya's avatar pulsed. Humans are dangerous, yes, but they are dangerous in the way a guard animal is dangerous. Point them at your enemies and they become invaluable. Treat them as enemies and you create the very threat you fear. Ren raised his voice over the growing arguments. Enough! We will hear testimony from the human representative. Bring in Commander Reeves. The chamber doors opened. Anne walked in wearing her military uniform, crisp and formal. Robert Hayes accompanied her, carrying a data storage unit. They showed no fear despite facing representatives from hundreds of worlds. Anne took the podium. Members of the Galactic Council, thank you for hearing us. I will be direct because I believe you deserve honesty. Humanity did not seek conflict when we reached for the stars. We hoped to find friends, trading partners, species who shared our curiosity about the universe. Instead, we found the Swarm. She activated a holographic recording. The Swarm attack on humanity's third colony played out in horrific detail. Organic ships descended on a peaceful settlement. Civilians fled toward evacuation transports. Swarm ground forces, looking like nightmares made flesh, tore through defensive positions. Detta felt sick watching it. Around the chamber, representatives made distressed sounds in their various languages. This happened 6 years ago, Anne said quietly. We lost 2 million people in 8 hours. We had no military, no warships, no experience with combat. We were explorers and scientists and dreamers. She paused, letting that sink in. The Swarm taught us to be warriors. We did not choose this path. It was chosen for us. Robert activated the data unit. We bring intelligence files on the Swarm, fleet compositions, tactical patterns, biological analysis, everything we have learned through blood and loss. This information is yours, freely given, regardless of your decision about an alliance. Court stood, why if we... Reject you? Why share your military intelligence? Because the swarm will eventually reach your space, Anne replied. When that happens, you will face the same choice we faced, fight or die. We would rather you survive that choice. Even if we are not your allies, we do not want to see other species suffer what we have suffered. Pretty words, Court said, but your military capability threatens the balance of power that has kept peace for centuries. Anne met his gaze steadily. General, with respect, your peace was built on mutual weakness. Everyone feared everyone else equally, so nobody fought. We do not operate on fear, we operate on trust. Trust our crew members to protect each other. Trust our allies to stand with us. We would rather offer you that trust than threaten you with our weapons. Wren stepped forward. Commander Reeves, if the Council agrees to an alliance, what would humanity require? Technology exchange, diplomatic recognition, joint operations against the swarm, and time to build trust, to learn about each other, to become genuine partners rather than convenient allies. Anne looked around the chamber. We are one species, you represent hundreds, we know we cannot fight this war alone, but we also know we will not surrender. The question is whether we fight together or separately. The debate continued for hours after Anne and Robert left. Detta listened to arguments for and against alliance. Some representatives saw opportunity, others saw only threat. Rylon spoke twice more, emphasizing the sincerity he had witnessed in human actions. Finally, as the chamber's light dimmed toward evening cycle, Wren called for a vote. All in favor of establishing formal diplomatic relations with humanity and investigating alliance possibilities. Detta held her breath. Lights appeared across the chamber as representatives cast votes, green for yes, red for no, yellow for abstention. The count took minutes. When it finished, Wren announced the result. Motion passes. By a margin of 58%, the Council authorizes formal engagement with humanity. Detta felt her antennae rise with relief. Barely a majority, but enough. The Council would meet with humans officially. Alliance negotiations could begin. Rylon found her after the session. It is a start. Barely, Detta replied. 42% voted against or abstained. Humanity has many skeptics. Then we must prove. The skeptics wrong. Rylon looked at the now empty chamber. I volunteered us for the observation mission. The Council wants independent verification of the swarm threat. Observation mission. We will accompany the Defiant on patrol, see their operations firsthand, confirm the swarm exists, and assess the threat level. Rylon's feathers ruffled. Brace already agreed. Will you join us? Detta thought of the humans she had met. Anne's quiet determination, Lewis's pride in his engineering, the crew's dedication despite their losses. Yes, someone needs to document this properly. Good, we leave in 3 days. Alarms screamed through the Defiant with a sound that made Detta's entire body freeze. Red lights flashed in rhythmic pulses. Human crew members moved with practiced speed, abandoning conversations mid-sentence to sprint toward battle stations. All hands, combat alert. Swarm signatures detected, bearing 270, range 80,000 kilometers. The announcement came from Anne's executive officer. His voice stayed calm despite the urgency. Detta found herself grabbed by a human technician who rushed her toward the designated observer positions. Rylon and Brace were already being strapped into reinforced acceleration couches designed for species not adapted to extreme G-forces. Sorry for the rough handling, the technician said, securing Detta's restraints. When the shooting starts, these couches will keep you alive. The cushioning system automatically adjusts for different physiologies. How long until contact? Brace asked. His scales had turned dark amber, the color his species displayed before combat. 10 minutes at current intercept vectors. The swarm are fast. The technician finished the safety checks and moved to his own station. Detta watched through the transparent section of bulkhead as the bridge crew prepared for battle. Anne sat in her command chair, reviewing tactical displays with quick gestures. Lewis's voice came over the internal communications, reporting reactor status at full combat readiness. Weapons officers called out system checks in rapid succession. Multiple swarm vessels, a sensor operator announced. Count is 5, correction 7 ships, biosignatures consistent with previous encounters. Classification, Anne asked. 4 medium hunters, 3 heavy harvesters. They are moving to surround us. Rylon's feathers pressed flat against his body. 7 ships against 1. Standard swarm tactics, Robert explained from his position near the observers. They do not believe in fair fights. They believe in overwhelming force and consumption. The main view screen showed the approaching swarm vessels. Detta felt revulsion crawl through her thorax. The ships looked grown rather than built, all organic curves and twitching appendages. Bone-colored armor plating covered asymmetric hulls. What looked like eyes dotted their surfaces, tracking the Defiant with predatory focus. Range 60,000 kilometers and closing. They are accelerating, the sensor operator reported. Weapons free, Anne ordered. Target the harvesters first. They carry boarding organisms. The Defiant's railguns opened fire. Detta felt the vibration through the entire ship as magnetic accelerators launched tungsten penetrators at impossible speeds. On the view screen, she saw 3 streaks of light cross the distance in seconds. 2 struck a swarm harvester, punching completely through its organic armor. The creature ship shuddered, bleeding atmosphere and biological fluids. Hit confirmed. Target is damaged but operational. The swarm vessels returned fire. Projectiles that looked like giant teeth shot toward the Defiant. Point defense systems activated, explosive rounds detonating the incoming fire before impact. Most of them. 3 projectiles got through, slamming into the Defiant's armored hull. The ship rang like a bell. Detta felt the impact through her restraints. Damage reports flooded the communications. Hull breach, Deck 7, Section 12, sealing now. Armor penetration on the port side, no internal damage. Anne's voice cut through the chaos. Hard to starboard, Lewis, I need everything the reactors can give us. You will get it, Captain. The Defiant rotated and accelerated simultaneously. Detta felt pressure crush her into the couch despite the cushioning systems. The gravity compensators struggled to keep up. She watched Brace's face distort under the G-forces, his jaw clenching against the strain. A swarm hunter vessel appeared directly ahead, weapons ports opening like mouths full of fangs. The Defiant did not slow. If anything, it accelerated harder. Brace for impact, Anne said calmly. The 2 ships collided. The Defiant's reinforced prow, designed exactly for this maneuver, struck the swarm vessel amidships. Organic armor crumpled. Hunter broke apart, its severed sections tumbling away, trailing frozen biomass. The Defiant shook violently but continued through the debris field. Lewis reported reactor stress but operational status. The ship had just used itself as a weapon and survived. Remaining swarm vessels are withdrawing, the sensor operator called out. No, correction, they are repositioning for another attack run. Missile batteries load thermobaric warheads, Anne ordered. We end this now. Detta watched fire control systems activate. Missile tubes opened along the Defiant's flanks. 12 weapons launched in quick succession, engines burning white-hot as they accelerated toward the regrouping swarm ships. The missiles covered the distance in seconds. They did not use conventional explosives. Instead, they dispersed fuel-air mixtures that ignited in massive fireballs. The temperature inside those expanding spheres exceeded the surface of stars. Swarm vessels caught in the blast simply ceased to exist, their organic matter vaporized instantly. When the fires faded, only 2 swarm ships remained. They turned and fled at maximum acceleration. Pursuit course, Anne ordered. We do not let them report our position. The Defiant chased. Its damaged engines screamed protest, but they delivered the speed Anne demanded. Railguns fired again, longer shots this time. One fleeing swarm ship exploded as a penetrator struck something critical. The last ship managed to open what looked like a biological jump point and vanished. Silence fell across the bridge. Slowly, the red alert lights faded to amber, then green. Human crew members began damage assessment and casualty reports. 14 injured, 2 critical, medical reported. No fatalities. Deck 7 breaches sealed, atmosphere restored. Reactor 3 is running hot but stable. We can make repairs underway. Anne stood from her chair, walking to the observation section. She looked exhausted. That was a light engagement, medium difficulty. Detta could not speak. She had just witnessed violence beyond anything her species had experienced in recorded history. The Defiant had fought 7 warships and won, suffering damage but remaining operational. "Your tactics," Rylon said quietly. "You rammed one of them." "The swarm do not use shields. Their organic armor is tough but brittle. A kinetic impact from a ship built like the Defiant breaks them apart." Anne gestured at the view screen showing the debris field. "We learned through trial and error, lost 4 ships and 3,000 crew before we figured out effective tactics." Brace's voice shook slightly. "How do you sustain this, fight after fight, loss after loss?" Anne looked at him with an expression Detta would remember forever. Tired, sad, but absolutely unyielding. "Because if we stop fighting, we stop existing. The swarm does not negotiate, does not retreat permanently, does not show mercy. So we learn to be harder than they are, to endure more than they can inflict, to keep fighting when every instinct screams to run." She turned to look at her crew, working calmly on repairs despite having just survived combat. "We do it because we must, and we will keep doing it until either the swarm is gone or we are." Detta began composing her report to the council in her mind. Every word Anne spoke needed to be recorded. Every moment of this battle needed documentation. The swarm was real, the threat was genuine, and humanity was exactly the ally the council needed, whether they knew it or not. The council chamber looked different this time. Representatives sat forward in their seats, attention focused completely on the central display. Detta's combat footage played in perfect clarity, showing the swarm attack from beginning to end. Nobody spoke. The silence felt heavier than words. When the footage ended, Rylon stood to give his formal report. "Members of the council, I have witnessed the swarm threat with my own sensors. They are real, hostile, and expanding. Chief Science Officer Detta has confirmed their organic technology poses unique challenges to conventional defensive strategies. Tactical Officer Brace has assessed their combat capabilities as severe." Brace activated his portion of the report. "The swarm operates on consumption principles. They do not negotiate because they cannot comprehend negotiation. They exist only to consume and reproduce. Based on their current expansion rate, they will reach council space in approximately 18 to 24 months. The chamber erupted. Representatives shouted questions and demands. Wren struggled to restore order. 18 months, someone called out. "How can we prepare in 18 months? "We cannot," General Cord admitted. His usual hostility toward humanity had vanished, replaced by grim calculation. "Our fleets are designed for peacekeeping and anti-piracy operations. We have no experience fighting an enemy like this." "But humanity does," Detta said, rising from her observer seat. Representatives turned to look at her. She felt nervous but continued anyway. "I watched human crew members repair battle damage while still under fire. I saw them use their ship as a weapon because they knew their armor could withstand it. I witnessed tactical innovation born from desperate necessity. They have learned to fight the swarm through terrible cost and incredible courage." Anne entered the chamber with Ambassador Wren's permission. This time, she did not come alone. 5 other human officers accompanied her, representatives from different ships and military branches. They carried data modules containing everything humanity had learned about fighting the swarm. "The council voted to explore alliance possibilities," Anne said. "We come prepared to make that alliance real. Full tactical databases, weapons specifications, training protocols, engineering schematics for armor and reactor systems. Everything we have learned, we offer freely." A representative from a peaceful agricultural species stood. "What do you want in return?" "Partnership," Anne replied simply. We want Council manufacturing capability to build more ships. We want scientific cooperation to develop better weapons. We want your species' unique perspectives and capabilities applied to this war. And we want to know we are not alone in this fight. You are asking us to militarize, someone protested. Many of our species have not fought wars in generations. I am asking you to survive, Anne corrected gently. The swarm does not care about your peaceful history. They will consume you regardless of whether you fight back. I am offering you a chance to learn from our mistakes instead of making your own. Priya's avatar appeared. Analysis supports Alliance recommendation. Human tactical doctrine combined with Council industrial capacity creates defensive capability exceeding current swarm threat level. Probability of successful defense increases by 73% with full cooperation. 73%, Court repeated. What about the other 27%? War has no guarantees, General, Robert said. But we can tell you this. Humanity started this fight with 0 combat experience, 47 ships, and pure desperation. We have held the swarm to their current territory for 6 years. Give us your resources, your manufacturing, your brilliant minds, and we can do more than hold. We can push them back. Wren called for order again. The Council must vote on formal military alliance with humanity. This exceeds simple diplomatic recognition. This commits us to joint warfare, shared casualties, combined future. It also commits humanity to defending Council space, Anne pointed out. Our ships will patrol your borders. Our crews will fight for your worlds. This alliance works both ways. Detta watched representatives debate. She saw fear in many faces, but also determination. The combat footage had changed minds. Seeing the swarm's reality made them understand humanity's necessity. The vote took less time than before. When Wren announced the results, Detta felt relief flood through her. Motion passes, 81% in favor. The Galactic Council formally allies with humanity against the swarm threat. Anne's expression did not change, but Detta saw her shoulders relax slightly. Thank you. We will not waste this trust. When can training begin? Court asked. The general had become humanity's strongest supporter after reviewing the combat data. Immediately, one of Anne's fellow officers replied. We brought training teams with us. Damage control, weapons operation, tactical maneuvering. We can start embedding instructors on Council vessels within the week. The chamber dissolved into organized chaos as representatives surrounded the human delegation with questions. Detta worked her way through the crowd to Anne's side. You took a huge risk coming here, Detta said quietly. Anne smiled. We took a bigger risk fighting alone. At least now we have friends. Will it be enough? Honestly, I do not know, but it is more than we had yesterday. Anne looked at the representatives arguing about ship designs and training schedules. Your people are good at cooperation. We are good at endurance. Together, maybe we create something better than either of us alone. 6 months passed quickly. Detta watched the transformation with scientific fascination. Council shipyards began producing vessels with human-designed armor. Training exercises combined human aggression with Council tactical flexibility. Mixed crews learned to work together, human endurance complementing the various specializations of other species. The first joint fleet assembled. Near the border between Council and Swarm space, 40 Council vessels enhanced with human technology, 20 human warships including the Defiant, 60 ships total, representing a dozen species, all united against a common threat. Detta stood on the Defiant's bridge as the fleet prepared to advance into Swarm territory. Rylon commanded a Council cruiser now hardened with human armor. Brace served as liaison, coordinating between human and Council tactical approaches. All ships report ready, Robert announced from his station. Anne looked at the fleet display showing their combined strength. Send to all vessels. Today we stop running from the swarm. Today we remind them that intelligent species do not surrender our space easily. Today we fight together. The fleet jumped into swarm space as one unified force. Detta recorded everything, knowing historians would want this documented. The moment when humanity stopped being a mysterious threat and became the galaxy's fiercest defender. Lewis appeared beside her, grinning. "What do you think, Detta? Nice fleet, yes." "It is beautiful," she admitted. "Terrifying and beautiful." "That describes humanity pretty well," Lewis laughed. "We are terrifying in war because we are beautiful in peace. We fight this hard because we love what we protect." The swarm waded ahead, but for the first time they faced not one desperate species, but an entire galaxy united. Human endurance, council cooperation, shared determination. Detta updated her research file one final time. Humanity, first contact analysis had become humanity, alliance and partnership. Under the title, she wrote a new conclusion. "We scanned a human warship and our sensors went into panic mode. We feared what we did not understand. Now we understand, and that fear has transformed into respect, gratitude, and hope. The galaxy is better with humanity in it. The galaxy is safer with humanity defending it."